Avery Lane had always been the girl with a notebook, full of dreams and a heart full of crushes. But she never imagined that one late-night encounter would turn her world upside down. After a wild charity concert event in the city, she woke up to find herself not in her own room, but in the luxurious apartment of Sienna Hart, the pop sensation she had admired for years. Panic, embarrassment, and disbelief collided as Avery blinked at the figure lounging casually on the couch, scrolling on her phone. "Sienna?" Avery's voice was a shaky whisper, disbelief lacing every word. Sienna looked up, a sleepy smile tugging at her lips. "Morning, Avery, sleep well?" And just like that, the impossible became her reality. Avery Lane had never woken up this confused in her entire life. Her head felt heavy, her thoughts foggy, and the soft sheets beneath her definitely weren't hers. Slowly, she blinked her eyes open, greeted by a ceiling far too elegant to belong to her small apartment. "What?" she murmured, sitting up. That's when it hit her. The room, the scent, the sunlight spilling through massive windows. And then, slept well? Avery froze. Her heart nearly stopped as she turned her head and saw her. Sienna Hart sitting at the corner of the bed, holding a cup of coffee like it was the most normal morning in the world. Avery's eyes widened instantly. Why am I here?" Sienna raised a brow, amused. "Relax. You look like you've seen a ghost." You're Sienna Hart," Avery stammered, clutching the blanket tighter. "Why am I in your bed?" Sienna took a slow sip of her coffee, watching her over the rim with a teasing glint in her eyes. "Technically, you passed out here." "Passed out?" "Mm-hmm," Sienna hummed. "At my charity concert, backstage." Fragments of last night rushed back, music, lights, cheering crowds, and somehow, unbelievably, meeting Sienna in person. Avery groaned softly, burying her face in her hands. "Oh my God. Please tell me I didn't embarrass myself." Sienna smirked. "Depends. Do you consider clinging to me and calling me your dream woman embarrassing?" Avery went completely still. "I said that?" "Twice." Avery wanted the ground to swallow her whole, but instead of laughing, Sienna leaned a little closer, her voice softer now. "Don't worry. I didn't mind." That only made Avery's heart race even faster. Avery stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, still trying to process everything, while Sienna moved around like this was just another normal day. "Here," Sienna said, tossing her a neatly folded set of clothes. "You can change. I doubt you want to go home wearing last night's outfit." Avery caught it, blinking. "You're letting me stay?" Sienna shrugged lightly. "You don't remember? You insisted you had nowhere to go that late." Avery frowned slightly. That didn't sound like her. But then again, last night was a blur. "I thank you," she said quietly. For a moment there was silence. Then Sienna spoke again, more casually this time. "You're not what I expected." Avery looked up. "What do you mean?" "I've met a lot of fans," Sienna said, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. Most of them either scream or freeze. A small smile formed on her lips. "You," she added, eyes locking onto Avery's. "Talk to me like I was just a person." Avery felt her cheeks warm. Maybe because I've always wanted to. The air between them shifted softer, quieter, something unspoken forming. Sienna studied her for a second longer before pushing herself off the wall. "Come eat breakfast with me," she said. Avery blinked. "Breakfast?" "Yeah," Sienna replied, already heading toward the door. Then she glanced back, a small teasing smile returning. "Unless you're planning to run away after confessing your love." Avery nearly choked. "I did not confess." Sienna laughed softly, the sound warm and effortless. And somehow, instead of running away like she thought she would, Avery followed her. Because maybe, just maybe, this unexpected morning was only the beginning. Avery didn't know what was more overwhelming, being in Sienna Hart's apartment, or the fact that she was now sitting across from her, eating breakfast. "Eat," Sienna said casually, placing a plate in front of her. Avery stared at it like it was some kind of test. "You made this?" Sienna raised a brow. "Surprised?" "A little," Avery admitted. "I mean, you're a global pop star." "And," Sienna smirked, "pop stars don't cook?" Avery laughed nervously. "I just thought you'd have, I don't know, 10 assistants doing everything for you." "I do," Sienna said simply, taking a sip of her coffee. Avery blinked. "Just not today." There was something about the way she said it, casual, but intentional, that made Avery pause. "Why?" she asked softly. Sienna looked at her for a moment, her gaze steady. "Because I wanted a normal morning." Avery's heart skipped. A normal morning, with her? She quickly looked down at her plate, trying to hide the smile forming on her lips. They ate in a comfortable silence at first, but it wasn't awkward anymore. It felt easy. "So," Sienna suddenly said, leaning forward slightly. "Avery Lane." Avery looked up. "Yeah? How long have you been a fan?" Avery hesitated, then sighed. "Since your first album." Sienna's lips curved into a small smile. "That long?" "Yeah," Avery admitted, "but I didn't just like your music." Sienna tilted her head, curious. "Oh?" Avery swallowed. "I liked how real you seemed, even when everything about your life looked perfect." For a second, Sienna didn't respond. Then she leaned back, studying Avery like she was seeing her differently now. "Careful," Sienna murmured. "You're starting to sound like you actually know me." Avery's breath caught. "Maybe I want to." The air shifted again, quieter, heavier. Something real. Something dangerous. Later that morning, Avery found herself standing by the massive window, staring out at the city below. It still didn't feel real. "You're thinking too much." Avery turned to see Sienna walking toward her, hands tucked casually in her pockets. Avery hesitated. "This feels like a dream." Sienna stopped in front of her, close enough that Avery could feel her presence. "Then don't wake up yet," Sienna said softly. Avery's heart pounded. There was something different about Sienna now. Less teasing, more sincere. "Can I ask you something?" Avery said quietly. "Go ahead." "Why me?" Sienna didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped a little closer, her eyes locking onto Avery's. "Because you didn't treat me like Sienna Hart," she said. "You treated me like just Sienna." Avery felt her breath hitch. "That's rare," Sienna added softly. Silence fell between them again, but this time, it wasn't awkward. It was charged. Avery noticed everything: the way Sienna's eyes softened, the way her lips parted slightly, the way the sunlight framed her like something unreal. "You're staring," Sienna whispered. Avery flushed. "Can you blame me?" Sienna smiled faintly. "No," she said. And for a moment, just a moment, it felt like the distance between idol and fan had completely disappeared. Avery didn't realize how close they were until she felt it. Sienna hadn't stepped back. In fact, she stepped closer. Too close. Avery's breath caught as the space between them disappeared, her back lightly pressing against the cold glass of the window. The city blurred behind her, everything fading except Sienna. "You're quiet," Sienna murmured, her voice low. Avery swallowed hard. "I don't know what to say." "That's new," Sienna teased softly, but her eyes didn't match her tone anymore. They were deeper now, searching. Avery's heart pounded so loud she was sure Sienna could hear it. "You're different today," Avery whispered. Sienna tilted her head slightly. "How?" "Closer," Avery said before she could stop herself. Silence. But it wasn't empty. It was heavy. Sienna's gaze dropped briefly to Avery's lips, then back to her eyes. That small movement was enough to send heat rushing through Avery's entire body. "Does that bother you?" Sienna asked softly. Avery shook her head almost immediately. "No," she breathed. Another step. Now there was barely any space left. Avery could feel Sienna's warmth, her presence overwhelming in the best way possible. "Good," Sienna whispered. For a second, just 1 second, it felt like everything was about to happen. Like Sienna was going to kiss her. Avery's eyes slowly fluttered closed. But then, a phone rang. Both of them froze. Reality came crashing back in. Sienna stepped away first, running a hand through her hair as she let out a quiet sigh. "Work," she muttered, glancing at her phone. Avery opened her eyes, her chest rising and falling quickly. Of course it wouldn't be that easy. The moment was gone. Just like that. Sienna picked up the call, her voice instantly shifting professional, controlled, distant. Avery stood there, frozen, watching the sudden change. It was like seeing two different people. "Yeah, I'll be there," Sienna said, already walking away. "Give me an hour." She ended the call and turned back to Avery, her expression softer again, but something had changed. "I have to go," she said. Avery nodded, trying to ignore the small disappointment settling in her chest. "Right, of course. I didn't expect today to get complicated," Sienna added quietly. Avery forced a small smile. "Yeah, me neither." There was a pause. Then Sienna stepped closer again, but this time, slower. Careful. "Avery," she said softly. Avery looked up. "You're not just a fan to me anymore." Her heart stopped. "But I also don't want to rush this," Sienna continued. "My world is messy." Avery nodded. She understood, even if it hurt a little. "I don't mind," she said honestly. Sienna studied her face like she was trying to memorize it. "Stay," Sienna suddenly said. Avery blinked. "What?" "Stay here. Just for today," Sienna clarified. "I'll be back." Avery hesitated, but only for a second. "Okay." Sienna smiled faintly, relief flashing in her eyes. Then, without warning, she leaned in and pressed a soft, gentle kiss on Avery's forehead. Avery froze. It was quick, simple, but it meant everything. "I'll see you later," Sienna whispered. And just like that, she was gone, leaving Avery standing there, heart racing, lips parted slightly, and realizing that this wasn't just a crazy morning anymore. It was the beginning of something real. The apartment felt different without Sienna. Too quiet, Avery sat on the couch, her fingers wrapped around a cup of now cold coffee. staring at nothing in particular. Everything that happened earlier replayed in her mind: the closeness, the almost kiss, the forehead kiss. Her heart still hadn't calmed down. Stay. That one word kept echoing in her head. So she did. Hours passed. Avery tried distracting herself, scrolling through her phone, flipping through a magazine, even walking around the apartment, but nothing worked, because everywhere she looked reminded her of Sienna. The photos, the music awards, the quiet elegance of the place. It all screamed her name. And yet, for the first time, Avery didn't feel like she was just looking at her idol's world. She felt like she was part of it, even just for a moment. Then the door clicked. Avery's heart instantly jumped. Sienna stepped inside, slightly breathless, her hair a little messy like she had rushed. Their eyes met, and everything else faded again. "You waited," Sienna said softly. Avery stood up slowly. "You asked me to." Something in Sienna's expression shifted: relief, maybe even something deeper. "I wasn't sure you would," she admitted. Avery smiled faintly. "I said I would." Silence, but not empty. It was full of everything they didn't say earlier. Sienna took a step forward, then another. Avery didn't move. She didn't want to. The distance between them closed again, just like before. But this time, nothing interrupted. No phone, no excuses. Just them. "You're still here," Sienna whispered, standing right in front of Avery. Avery nodded, her voice barely there. "I told you I would stay." Sienna's gaze softened, but her eyes burned with something stronger now. "Do you know how hard it was to leave earlier?" she admitted. Avery's breath hitched. "Then why did you?" "Because if I didn't..." Sienna stepped even closer, her voice dropping. "I wouldn't have been able to stop myself." Avery's heart pounded wildly. "Stop yourself from what?" she asked, even though she already knew. Sienna didn't answer with words. Instead, her hand gently lifted, brushing a strand of Avery's hair behind her ear, her fingers lingering just a second longer than necessary. "Avery," she murmured. That was all it took. Avery closed the small distance between them. And this time, Sienna didn't pull away. Their lips met softly at first, hesitant, like they were both asking the same question. "Is this okay?" But the moment lingered and deepened. Sienna's hand moved to Avery's waist, pulling her closer, while Avery's fingers lightly gripped the fabric of Sienna's shirt. The kiss grew warmer, more certain, filled with everything they had been holding back since the morning. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were slightly breathless, foreheads resting against each other, eyes still closed. "You're real," Avery whispered. Sienna smiled softly. "So are you." And in that moment, there was no idol, no fan, just two people who found each other in the most unexpected way. The city outside was quiet, lights twinkling like stars below them. Avery and Sienna sat side by side on the couch, legs lightly brushing, holding two steaming mugs of tea. "I can't believe all of this happened in just a few days," Avery murmured, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. Sienna turned to her, eyes soft and sincere. "Neither can I, but I don't regret any of it." Avery swallowed hard, heart pounding. "Sienna, She stopped herself, words caught in her throat. Sienna smiled gently, taking Avery's hand. You don't have to say it. But I want to, Avery insisted, cheeks flushed. I like you. I like you so much. Sienna's eyes lit up and she leaned closer, brushing her forehead against Avery's. I like you too, Avery. More than I thought I would. Avery's heart leapt. Relief, happiness, and a little disbelief all rolled into one. They laughed softly, a shared breathless sound, feeling the weight of their confessions lift. The world outside could wait. For now it was just them. Morning came again, but it felt different this time, warm, promising, full of possibilities. Avery woke up naturally, not in panic, but smiling. Sienna stirred beside her, still half asleep, hair falling over her face in a perfect mess. Morning, Avery whispered. Sienna blinked, then smiled sleepily. Morning. You're still here. Of course, Avery said, wrapping a blanket around both of them. I'm not going anywhere. They laughed softly, the sound filling the cozy apartment. Breakfast was simple, coffee and toast, but it felt like a feast. Later, as Avery watched Sienna hum along to a song playing softly from the stereo, she realized something. This wasn't a story about idols and fans anymore. It was about two people who found each other unexpectedly and decided to stay. And for the first time in her life, Avery felt completely at home. Because Sienna wasn't just her idol anymore. She was her heart. And just like that, Avery Lane's world had completely changed. From a random night backstage at a concert to waking up in her idol's apartment, to shared breakfast, stolen glances, and a first kiss that left them both breathless. Nothing had gone as planned, but somehow, it felt perfect. Sienna Hart wasn't just a name on a poster anymore. She was real, warm, funny, and unexpectedly vulnerable. And Avery? She discovered courage she didn't know she had, and a heart that could fall completely for someone in the most unexpected way. The city outside continued to sparkle, oblivious to their little world, but inside the apartment, there was laughter, quiet moments, and a promise of tomorrow. Avery had learned one thing. Sometimes, the most extraordinary love stories begin in the most ordinary. Chaotic mornings and the rest was just the beginning. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this story, please support this channel so we can create more woman love stories in English. Click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next stories filled with romance, drama, and real love. Every like, share, and comment you leave helps us create more stories that bring inspiration and representation to the WLW community. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, it's never too late to love the person who is truly meant for you.